Hi, I'm Bob Rumba. Welcome to the fabulous Ventriloquist University. This is Stephen Knowles, who works in Pigeon Forge, Kentucky.
Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I get Tennessee
In the mountains.
I get Kentucky and Tennessee mixed up because they're kind of the same. Aren't they?
No, not really.
Dang. Anyway, I know Stephen from ventriloquism from way back.
From 1990.
Yeah, the Wayback Machine with Mr. Peabody. So, what happened was you weren't always in Pigeon Forge, though. You lived in
Nashville.
Yeah, for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know if your career, what made that change for you?
I got offered a position at the Comedy Barn Theater in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and moved up there to do that, and ended up staying at that theater for 22 years. So
That's a pretty good gig for
that's a good
week
run.
or two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. It provided me a great living. It provided me the freedom to not be on the road and to do lots of shows, make a good living, and take care of my family, raise a family. But it also kind of all the momentum I had going in working cruise ships and doing corporate engagements and stuff, all that stopped because I wasn't on the road anymore. I was in one spot. And so I got well known enough with the people that came to the Smokies, but it really stopped me from moving any further in my career, which not necessarily a bad thing, but it was just, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. But
Right. Okay, so when I knew you, you were doing the pelican that a fish comes out of his
mouth, yeah,
mouth and then goes back in doing and
singing under the boardwalk.
Yeah.
So it's the pelican sings.
Was that your start? Was that what you started with, or what did you start? What kind of figure did you start with?
I started with my very first figure was a Bill Bowley figure that
was it a hard figure or was it a soft?
It was a hard figure.
Hard, that's what I thought.
His name was Billy Joe, and I bought him from Bill. Went up to his house, which was about an hour drive for me, hour and a half drive, and I would go up and spend time with him a lot, and probably bothered him a little bit. He actually gave me the greatest introduction I ever got. He said, this young man used to come to my house all the time, and he was so full of ideas and dreams, and he'd say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I thought, this kid isn't going to do nothing. Well, he surprised the hell out of me. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Knowles. I was like, wow. I mean, on the one hand, you're thinking, he really thought that about me? But on the other hand, I surprised him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you came on ahead.
But yeah, so I had that hard figure, and then I got a little knee pal old man from Mayer Studios, and I was doing nightclubs. I was 19 years old. I was working nightclubs in Nashville, doing with those figures.
Were you allowed to be there?
Probably not.
19?
Probably not.
Well, no. When I was in Chicago, it started at 18, and then at a certain point, everything changed to 21.
Right.
I don't know if that happened.
It was 21 was the legal drinking age. But they didn't ask and I didn't tell, so I just went in and did my thing. But yeah, so I started doing that, and then I started doing corporate engagements, and it just sort of started snowballing from there. And one of the things that I did a lot in that early part of my career was magic conventions, and that's really what kind of made my career. I started out as a magician when I was a kid, and so I knew all the guys in the local magic club, and I was a member of the IBM, the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And still am, Order of Merlin Excalibur now, over 35 years of membership. But anyway, because I knew magicians, guys started saying, hey man, we're doing this convention, we need a little variety, will you do your Ven Act? Absolutely.
And ventriloquism is also considered magic.
It's one of the sister arts, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So it fits right in, because I got to work in magic clubs that other people didn't get to be in because I was a ventriloquist.
Well,
so
exactly.
I would imagine you would be in the same position.
Exactly. And so what happened was I found out about right as I started working in nightclubs, I found out about this convention. So I came up to it in 1990, was my first year. I met all you guys, and then I went back home and went back to work. I was a computer programmer working in a factory programming robotic machinery. And I did that for 2 or 3 years, and then I performed in the contest that we had at Vent Haven back in those days, and won first place with my Pelican act. And that was when I believe it was you. It might have been Pete Michaels, but several people had come up, and basically the consensus was, "You're a computer programmer? Why? You could be making a living at this." And when the people who are your quote unquote competition, which is what I thought at the time, but now I'm older, I understand that's not how it works.
No.
But when the people who you think are going to be your competition are encouraging you to go into the business, you've got to really stop and think. And so I was I had just come off the success of winning that contest, and I was booked to perform at a magic convention in Nashville. And on the way there, I'm warming up in the car, and I'm doing the alphabet, and I'm just going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so that kind of sounds like Willie Nelson. I went, "To all the girls I love before, who's traveling on all night or," and all of a sudden, this entire routine just fell in my lap. It was, they say Mozart composed his symphonies note perfect the first time. They just came to him whole. This routine came to me whole. I performed it for over 20 years, and it changed in very minor ways, but the bulk of what you saw on stage every night was what came to me on that night. So I put it on stage that night. I didn't have masks, but I squeezed the guy's shoulders and had him do it, and it brought the house down. Next day, I called Bill Boley. I said, "I need 2 masks, and I want you to put a 5 o'clock shadow on one of them." I got a bandana and a couple pieces of rope and made the Willie Nelson headgear. Same headgear I used for years. Just never, but at that show was the guys who were booking the Magic Convention in Gatlinburg. They asked me to come and do their show. I went and did that. The owner of the Comedy Barn saw me there. I started working at the Comedy Barn. I met Alex Houston. Alex introduced me to Marshall Grant, who was the producer of the Statler Brothers television show. I got the Statler Brothers show, and then I started booking cruises. So all of that came as a direct result of that one. The Magic show was an unpaid gig. It was a favor for a friend. But on the way there that routine came to me, and it was perfect. And that one night really built my career.
Well, the thing that made you here was, now a lot of people do 2 at once. One here, one here. But when you did a pelican and you had the fish come out of his gullet there, the bottom part of the pelican, and sing, and then go back in, and then he sings, that's the same thing, except it's completely different.
Well,
that's kind of what made it.
I've always said that there's no such thing as creativity. There's only synthesis. You take 2 things that already exist and you put them together and you make a new thing. And what happened, I used to host these get-togethers for comedians and ventriloquists at my house. I had a house out in the middle of nowhere, big farm, and I would invite a bunch of guys over, and we would...
That was in Tennessee.
Yes. We would make chili. We'd go down to town and play laser tag. We would ride 4-wheelers on the farm, and we would, stay up all night, hours of the night, and I kept a tape recorder running the whole time, recording all the banter, cutting up, joking, and everything between all these guys. Then when the weekend was over, this would last for 2.5 days. When that was over, I would make a transcription, which I had to do by hand, typing. I didn't have a computer would do it for me. But I would make a transcription of that weekend and email it to all the guys. And everybody would have what we talked about, and it would have nascent ideas for routines and jokes and stuff. And a lot came out of it for a lot of us. But at one of those events, Phil Hughes from Pittsburgh area was there. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We're laying on the floor watching the ceiling fan spin. And he says, "I always wanted to have a pelican puppet and have him sing a parody of Proud to Be an American, but make it Proud to Be a Pelican." And I said, and an image flashed to my mind with this idea he had of the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when the pelican rides by on the bicycle and the fish pops out of his mouth, looks both ways, and they speed off.
Right.
It's a momentary little sight gag in that movie. But I said, no, have him sing Under the Boardwalk and have a fish pop out of his mouth and do the low part. And Phil said, "You jerk. It's yours. Take it." So I was on the phone with Mary Ann Taylor the next day, and we had to go through 2 drafts of the puppet before we got something that worked. But once we had it working, it had never been done before, so we were really, we were creating something completely new here with the structure and how to make it work. So, but again, I took ideas from other things that I had worked on as a manufacturer and I was able to go, okay, we can do this and this. Again, that synthesis, taking old other things and putting them together, making something new. Because the first Pelican looked like he was in a neck brace. He couldn't move. But we figured out, that was actually the one I used in the contest. But after the contest, I went to her and I said, I figured out how to fix this. And so now the head turns side to side, and still I can manipulate it the way that I.
So the people that are watching this for the first time, when you have a figure that or a puppet that can't do this, it has to move the whole body in order for it to go this
Right.
way and that
It's
way.
very awkward.
It's pretty rough.
But the strength of the routine carried it through, and I won the contest and I won the award for originality, which was really funny because I had come with that hoping to unseat Nick Paulo because he always won the originality award. And I wanted to beat him and get the originality award, but he didn't show up that year. So I got the originality award, but I didn't get the fun of taking it from him. But now he and I are on the Saturday night show this week together, 30 years later, and that is so cool. I'm so honored. And I told Nick, I said, man, you were a huge inspiration to me, and it is really, really cool to be on the show with you at the convention.
Nick Paulo is, to me, the first time I ever saw Nick Paulo, and they were filming something, and I said, "This guy's a genius."
He's either a genius or he's insane or he's both.
Yeah, maybe both. Maybe both. And then Phil Hughes now is still working on ships, I think.
Yep, still working on ships.
Yep. And see, I had a friend who was a magician, comedy magician, Rich Papura, and he used to say on stage when he was working, I was with him when he was working for Disney, and he said, when I get to be good, I'm going to work on land. So that was like this big deal. And because you do feel like, because you are, when you're on a ship, you're on a ship, and everything's just that ship. Like, if the president was shot, you would know it.
Yeah. I did 2 cruises before I landed the gig at the Comedy Barn full time. And that was when I stopped doing cruises. And I had done really well on my first cruise ship, which was a ship in the Caribbean, and it was for the cruise line Cunard, and it was this particular ship had partly German passengers, partly British passengers, and partly American passengers. And my act is very continental. The European audiences like what I do because it's unusual. And
they can understand it.
And I speak a little German, so I would throw a few German jokes in. And the cruise director was German, so she was impressed with me. I got a very good rating. My second cruise was a world cruise. Now, the cheapest, this was a world cruise going all the way around the world. I was on a leg of it from Singapore to India. The cheapest flight, the cheapest room inside, no view, on this world cruise was $180,000. I mean, it was insane.
Wow.
How much this thing cost.
That's the cheapest one.
Yeah. So these are very rich people that I have never interacted with at all. And they have seen everything. And they are jaded. And,
a little.
And if you ever saw the movie Out to Sea with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, where they play the 2 guys going to dance, Brent Spiner.
It's like grumpy old men in the water.
But Brent Spiner plays the cruise director on that ship, and he's a song and dance man, old washed up English song and dance man, and he's full of himself and everything. Well, that was the CD on this ship, and he hated me. And he moved after my first show, he moved my second show into like the crew lounge on a Friday night and said he would come and watch it. Didn't send his assistant. They totally panned me. I got a horrible rating. But then I got the job at the Comedy Barn, and I was like, okay, I'm done with cruises. So I only did 2. But the thing is, people go, oh, cruising, that must be wonderful. Well, it is, but it isn't. Just from my brief experience, yeah, you get to see the world, but you see it alone. You're not part of the dancing troupe of people who are like family and they're always together. You're the fly-on act who comes on with his boxes of stuff, does his thing, and then leaves. And yeah, I mean, I made a few friendships, had a couple of neat adventures, especially in Southeast Asia. But those are stories for another time.
Yeah. So now you've gone from being on a ship to Pigeon Forge, and Are you still using the Pelican, or did it change? When did it change?
He's not a big part of the act anymore. I do use him on occasion. I'll be using him here Saturday night. But no, it's
Yeah, you've been here for a while, so
yeah, it's been 10 years.
that'll be like a new thing for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
It's been 10 years since I've been to the convention. I had been at the Comedy Barn for 22 years, and I performed as Stephen Knowles there for 22 years. And people would come up after the show and say, "That was a great show. We enjoyed the show." I would always be in the reception line meeting people and shaking hands with folks. "Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here." You know, and they all say, "Oh, we really enjoyed that. We really enjoyed that." And then people would recognize me. I've been recognized in New York City and Disney World, but they never remembered my name. People would always walk up and say, "Hey, you're the guy from the Comedy Barn." And I'm like, "Well, it's not on my passport, but yeah, that's me." And it finally hit me that the Comedy Barn had a stronger brand than I did, and I needed to develop something that was going to be memorable. Now, I had created the character of Buford for a Christmas show we had done in 1999, and so I decided to resurrect that character. And now, after my show, people walk up and say, "Buford, that show was great," or they'll go, "Buford!" Or it's just like Bob Rumba. It's something that people remember.
But that's my real name. He created another name, which is sort of like
But
he's sort of like Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman,
Exactly.
or Cliff Arquette, Charlie Weaver.
But you're Bob Rumba. Your character is Bob Rumba. The way you say it sticks in people's mind.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, now people drive by and holler out the window of their car, "Buford, we love you!" And just the other day, Steve-O was down visiting me. Steve-O Schuling, German ventriloquist, was visiting me. We went into a thrift store, and this couple walked up to me and said, "Do you live here?" And I thought they were going to ask me for directions. I said, "Yes, I do." And they said, "Between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg?" And that's where Buford lives, in a little community called Boogertown, which is a real place. You wouldn't know it because people keep stealing the sign, and we want it back. But anyway, I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Would your name be Buford?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." They said, "We saw you last year in Ohio." And they remembered me, and they remembered my name. And so
There you
that's why Friday here at the convention, I'm going to be lecturing on personal branding and how to become unforgettable. And they're actually going to video that lecture and put it in the archives at the museum. They asked me if they could do that, and I said, "Absolutely. Why would I just want to teach these 200 people that are here when I can teach generations in the future, you know, having that as something we've got archived?"
Can we go through some of your different characters and voices?
Sure.
Because a lot of people that are going to watch this are going to want to see that. They're going to want to see different voices and different what you're doing and how you got from here to now. Now, first of all, let's take you as Stephen, which is what you're seeing now. Let's take you from that to Buford.
Buford doesn't talk a whole lot different than I do, but I mean he's a little bit more of a country boy, so but he's not a stupid hillbilly. He's an educated hillbilly. The other hillbillies call me the Mountain William because I'm the educated hillbilly. I have a TikTok channel, Meet Buford, and on my TikTok channel for the longest time, for the first 2.5 years, I did Buford's obscure word of the day, and I would teach words like absquatulate. I love that word. It means to leave in a big, big hurry. Ooh, we better absquatulate.
Yeah,
and
sounds dirty.
Yeah, it does, because it's got squat in it.
Yeah.
But then I did, but I do a thing in my stand-up act about, because I'll do some vent and then I'll do some stand-up, and I do a thing in my stand-up act about, people think because I'm from the country, they hear me talk and they say, "Oh, you must be stupid." I'm not stupid, I'm ignorant. There's a difference. See, stupid means you can't, ignorant means you haven't learned it, stupid means you can't.
Right.
And to give you a few examples, you may not understand the physiology of the human body and what causes weight loss and weight gain. That's ignorant. But if you tell your wife those new pants make her look fat, that's stupid. You may not know exactly how big or round the world is. That's ignorant. But if you live in the 21st century and think it's flat, that's stupid. You may not. So anyway, it's kind of like you might be a redneck. It's this formulaic thing that I put into my act.
So let's start with your first character, which was a hard figure. Is that a regular pressed voice, like a mayor?
Yeah.
Hey, how you
the
doing?
shave, the shave voice, as they called it in the mayor course. Hey, yeah. So it's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah. And then my first old man puppet was Pops. Hey, he talked like this right here. Oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah. But he was a dirty old man. He liked the younger girls, and so he'd be like, he said, hey, I gotta go. I gotta take my date up from cheerleading practice. I said, cheerleading practice? Yeah, she's pre-net at Vanderbilt. He says, you told me I needed to start dating seniors. And I'm like, that's not what I meant. He goes, high school? No. Then the Pelican, it's really funny. My wife always teases me about this, but it's hard for me to do the voices without the puppet in my hand because the puppet just kind of brings the voice out. But
yeah, it does. But you don't have to do it for very long. You can just sample.
The Pelican, it was like, under the boardwalk, down by the sea, on a blanket with my babies, where I'll be, under the boardwalk.
That's a fish.
That's the fish. His name is Sushi. For the first few years, his name was Lunch. But now it's Sushi because he says, I said, what's his name anyway? He goes, Sue. Sue? Yeah, short for Sushi. But
I had a seal puppet that I named that too.
Yeah.
Sushi, yeah.
And then let's see. Then of course I did Willie Nelson and Julio Iglesias, which was just a direct, impersonation of those two guys. And now I had the monkey puppet that I bought from you in 1990. You remember that? The Bart Simpson looking monkey.
Oh yeah. I hated that monkey. I won it and I didn't like it.
He won it. He won it in the raffle here at Van Haven. And I wanted it really bad. I bought a bunch of tickets trying to buy it to win it, and I didn't win it. And I went up to him. This is the first time we'd ever met. And I was a 20-year-old kid. I'm like, Mr. Rumba, are you going to use that puppet? No, I don't even like it. I said, well, I've got $100 left in my gas money to get home tomorrow. Would you sell it to me? And he goes, yeah, just so I can get into heaven. But I've used him for years. His name is Cyril.
What does he sound like?
Just kind of the pinched voice, but it's got a little bit different cadence to it. And we do. I've never really written anything. I tried for the first couple of years. I kept doing this thing where he was like, "I'm 3 years old." He would do something stupid, and then he'd go, "I'm 3 years old." And I was kind of trying to pattern it on. There was a stand-up comic who had the little Bobby Duck, and he'd go, "I'm just a baby duck," and it would get big laughs. But I'm 4 years old, never got big laughs. So,
where'd you meet him?
Who?
The Bobby Duck guy.
Oh, I never met him. I've just seen him over years.
I worked with him in a little tiny bar in Chicago forever.
Yeah. What was his name? He's passed away now.
Yeah, he has.
He died a long time ago.
With this duck puppet that he had gotten in an airport, one of those places that sells like a rack of puppets.
Yeah.
And the feet were like wings to him, and he just unattached and put them on his feet, and he bought a cheap puppet and
made a huge career out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounded sort of like Yacky Doodle from Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Which is based on Donald Duck, but not
direct. Yeah.
It's actually more like a baby duck.
Yeah.
Like he said, I'm just a little baby duck.
I'm just a baby duck.
Yeah. So you're
some monkeys, but
like
yeah,
he's baby.
Yeah, he's in. He looks at a guy on the front row and he'll go. He walks out. First thing he does is and I say, these people don't speak monkey. He does. Who? Daddy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that man doesn't look like your daddy. Does to me. Mm-hmm. Say you're sorry, sir. I'm sorry. You look like a monkey. And then
what else we got?
I've got my dog Delmer.
Did you use a live dog to start out with, and then you went to the puppet?
I did.
I remember talking to you on the phone by that. You said this stuff is good enough. I could use it as a puppet and it would still go over.
That was my goal. Was that I had created the dog act, but I didn't want it to just be the novelty of it's a talking dog. I said whatever I write has to be able to stand on its own as a puppet routine. And so I had the live dog. I used him for several years, but you have to deal with, well, they've changed the laws since, but you had to deal with the Department of Agriculture, had all these inspections. It was just a huge pain in the neck. And traveling with a live animal, not my idea of fun.
Well, you're supposed to have two of them.
And so...
Two, in case something happens to one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't do your act.
Yeah. So I when he passed away, he had a heart condition. And when he passed away, I just didn't replace him. And I found a used dog puppet made by Jet. And so I'm going to be meeting with her to be making a backup puppet this weekend.
That looks like that one.
That looks like this one, yeah. And then so he's he's a pinched voice, but it's the attitude. he says, I start the act by getting him to talk. I tell the audience, it's a talking dog like you've seen on the internet. You know, they say, mama, and I love you. And I go, say mama. Come on, say mama. Let's try something else. Say, I love you. And he goes, you sound like an idiot. And so it's this whole attitude thing. You know, he's my emotional distress dog.
So can you do the voice, like do like one line so they can
Yeah.
hear the voice sort of?
Seriously, do you listen to yourself? I want a wool. I want a wool. What was that? It was supposed to be I love you. Didn't sound like it. No, it sounded like I want a wool. I want a wool.
Yeah.
Well, you could have said something. Why didn't you say mama? She ain't here. Could have said I love you. I don't know these people. You know me. I don't like you. So
There you go.
I called him my emotional distress dog.
There you go. So then after that, you did
Red, my horse puppet. That's another funny story. Steve-O brought a bunch of Norman Schneider puppets over 10 years ago or more. Well, it's been 15 years ago, I guess, to sell. There was a really cool fox pirate puppet with a wooden leg, and there was a couple of other things, but there was this horse with a big goofy grin and a red body and red giant head, and he had like poof ball hooves on pieces of yarn.
Glad you said they were hooves the way you did.
And I
Thank you.
carried him around just trying to sell him for SIBO. And people, I was just walking around the convention, this was still at the drawbridge. That's how long ago it's been. But and people kept walking up, is that your new character? And I'm like, no, he's for sale for $500 if anybody wants him. And they're like, that's great, man. You should buy that. And after about the 10th person told me that, I said, well, I guess I'm buying it. And
I guess so.
So, but this is a fun one because it's a deeper voice than mine.
Okay.
He's got a deep voice, and I artificially make my voice a little bit higher while I'm doing the routine so that it creates that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Because his voice is really close to my normal voice. So it's like, let me take up a bit of the routine. Well, there's a part of the act where there's a voice on the roof. Again, the 2-in-1, but now it's the horse and the guy on the roof doing the distant voice.
The distant voice, yeah.
And so I go, hello? Yes, did you hear something? Hello, up the air. And he looks up. I always make the horse look up before I do. Like he's smarter than I am. And I go, Barry, is that you? Well, it ain't Santa Claus. What are you doing up there? Waiting on a ladder. No, how'd you get on the roof? Mind your own business. Who's that? That's my friend Barry. Who you talking to? My horse, Red. Your horse is dead. I'm dead. No, you're not dead. No, I'm not dead. I'm waiting on a ladder. I'm not dead. You're fine. Calm down. I'll come down. You need me a ladder. He said I'm dead. Well, he misheard me. Who's going to Missouri? Nobody's going to Missouri. Is that where the glue factory is? There's no glue factory. You gonna get me down? Barry DeClare had a medical emergency down here. So
That's a great voice.
thank you.
It almost has like a newscaster. It'd be funny for you to do that if you were the anchor on the news, and then the horse does the news.
You got it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has a really nice speaking. I mean, you could do that on the radio, and people would think that was just a regular person.
Oh, I've had people walk up after the show and go, did he get down okay?
Well,
I kid you not.
oh, wow.
I kid you not. Is Barry all right? Oh, yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Okay, is there another one after that? Because we're going to wrap it here pretty quick.
I mean, I do thousands of voices, and I do a lot of, now I've got a studio in the house, and I do a lot of books on tape and television and radio commercials, podcasts. I make a lot of money sounding like Sam Elliott. And I do. There's a podcast called the Cigar Snob Podcast, which is put out by Cigar Snob Magazine.
Yes.
And I'm a character on there named Jasper, and he talks like Sam Elliott. What are we smoking today? And but they just got a soundboard. I'm not there for it. They've got a soundboard with all these expressions, and I do their intros and outros and their commercials. And so they'll be like, "Well, what's up, Jasper?" And I'll say, Caballeros que fuman. And then I do, I've got another podcast that I'm a regular part of. It's called The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and Odd Goings On. And if you're a fan of the old EC comics and stuff like that, it's a horror anthology series where the framing piece is this antique shop where everything is haunted. And I'm the shopkeeper. So at the beginning and end of every episode, you hear me, "Welcome, friend. Come on in. I've got something special just for you."
That's a great one.
And then
too.
I tell these, then I'll introduce the stories, and then it's like a radio play acted out, these horror stories. But then if you buy into the Patreon page, the Obsidian Covenant, it's called, then you get bonus material, which are horror stories told just by the shopkeeper. And so I do that as well. I've been doing that
That's
for
the
the
same
last
voice?
year. Yeah, yeah. So I've been doing that for the last year. They had hired me to do several different parts on their shows before on an old podcast they had.
Yes.
And one of them was this antique shop. And I said, guys, that would be a great device for a whole, series of stories. So they canned the old podcast and started a brand new one. And we've got merchandise, and we've got a secret decoder ring. I kid you not. I kid you not. And we've got hoodies that on the sleeves say "No refunds, no
Yeah.
exchanges."
That's really funny. So basically, that idea is the whole thing is wrapped around that place.
Exactly. So I'm on every episode, and it's getting great reviews too. We're on episode 51, just came out, and
Wow.
I just recorded episode 52 last night before I headed out.
And doing that voice with your beard, you put it into the Orson Welles
Yeah.
kind of.
Orson Welles. Yes.
Yeah.
But the other one I do, I get a lot of work with is Jimmy Stewart. Of course, I know you do Jimmy Stewart too, but a lot of people do. But,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I did it for a commercial where they wanted this guy was made up of vegetables.
Yeah.
And I did a voice, and they go, "It sounds like Jimmy Stewart." And I go, "Yeah, kind of."
My favorite was the week that
Couldn't
Jimmy
help
Stewart died. Bob put on his answering machine, "You've heard it. I'm gone, but I'll always be with you. But Bob can't be with you because he's not here. So just leave your number at the tone there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
The day we used to do those all the time.
Yeah.
Because we had answering machines then. No. Hey, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And thanks for watching us today.
Oh, one more thing for the dog.
Sure. That's it?
That's another one of his voices.
Oh, that?
He barks.
Speak dog?
He barks in the act. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll
smaller
actually
dog.
you'll actually enjoy the show because he's a dog impressionist. He does impressions of other dogs.
There you go.
So you'll see it Saturday night.
Yay. Okay, thanks a lot for being with us. And we're going to wrap it. And I don't know what's coming next, but they'll put it up. They'll post it on your screen, and it'll say other things that are available to you. So thanks for being here at Vent University. And thanks, Stephen Knowles, for being here too.
My pleasure, Bob.
And I'm still Bob Rumba, and I'll see you later.
And I'm Buford. Be good to each other.
Yep.